Idaho has a committee on federalism. Did you know that? Been in place since 2019, and it was established to monitor and review federal acts, laws, and regulations that may potentially impact the sovereignty of Idaho. Well, that interim committee, they got together today, and they came to a conclusion. The legislature should consider drafting a bill that would push back on the federal vaccine mandates put forth by President Biden in recent weeks. So, Joe Paris, he's going to kind of tell us about this. They met today. What about this draft legislation? What could they possibly do? What is in there? And they're not even in session, right?
Yeah, so this is an interim committee, as you pointed out. And the idea, Brian, is to give the state of Idaho a mechanism to push back on federal mandates like President Biden's recent action. President Biden signed an executive order recently that required federal employees to get vaccinated against COVID. And the Biden administration is also trying to use an emergency OSHA rule to require all employers with 100 or more employees to ensure vaccinations or require weekly testing. Now, after public debate and testimony and research, the Committee on Federalism came to their final conclusion today on what piece of legislation they would recommend to address the federal mandate. So here we go. This is a draft legislation you're looking at from Senator Steve Vick. He's a Republican from Dalton Gardens. He's also the co-chair for the Committee on Federalism. And he describes this idea as a way that frames Idaho passing legislation to control what Idaho can do on this topic. Here's the crux of the explanation, again, addressing federal mandates on vaccines.
The federal government may implement things when it comes to federal employees, and they may not, and that's up to the court to decide. They may be able to implement things with federal contractors, and they may not. But what we can do for sure is we can say we won't help. Right, that's clearly part of our state sovereignty, is that state employees, city employees will not help the federal government to implement these mandates that I believe are illegal and unconstitutional.
So that idea is all accomplished by proposing additions and amendments to the Idaho Health Freedom Act. And that portion of Idaho code currently says, quote, "Every person within the state of Idaho is and shall be free to choose or decline to choose any mode or securing health care services without penalty or threat of penalty by the federal government of the United States of America." And that idea is set up earlier in the same section of state code. It says, quote, "A person's choice in the mode of securing health care services or to impose a penalty related to it is not found in the Constitution of the United States of America and is therefore a power reserved to the people pursuant to the 9th Amendment and to the states pursuant to the 10th Amendment." So the committee's recommended legislation adds to that section of Idaho code to list immunizations, inoculation, or injection explicitly in the definitions of the code. Additionally, the recommended legislation adds to the enforcement section of Idaho code, making violating all of that a misdemeanor. Again, just a proposal for now, but if it did pass eventually, it would be a crime for state or local officials, employees, or agents to help implement the federal vaccine requirements. So what does all of this mean? Well, it's a good indicator of where Idaho lawmakers could be headed on passing legislation on the vaccine mandate topic. The committee reports out their work and recommendations now to House and Senate leadership, as well as the legislative body as a whole. Now, from there, a lot could happen. It is, however, up to the Senate and House leadership to decide if and where they want that bill to be sent committee-wise. And Brian, there were other legislative drafts that were given to the Committee on Federalism. They were presented by lawmakers. Those were not actually formally recommended as a part of the committee report. However, those draft legislations, which had some similar ideas to the one that did get recommended as well, some other ideas, it doesn't mean that they're dead for any reason. This whole situation is kind of giving that one piece of recommendation a little bit of extra exposure before heading back into session, which could likely be early next year, maybe the end of this year, depending on where that whole sine-die situation
okay, so where is that all sine-die situation lining up right now?
Yeah, it's a complicated situation because the House is done or is not done for the year,
right,
but the Senate has formally adjourned, so it's wait and see. There are people calling on Idaho lawmakers to get the Senate and the House back, but legally and technically that could be an interesting maneuver. It likely won't happen, but it is wait and see. More likely and most likely is that in January, with the next legislative session kicks off, we'll see this idea brought up again.
And Biden's regulations could go into effect before that, though.
Yeah, they could, and it would be on the state of Idaho to rapidly respond or wait till January to do something about it.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. Thank you very much, Joe.